Welcome to 12-Minute Talks, where important information is shared in a short time period. Learn from other business owners, entrepreneurs, and experts about what they do to help you find solutions to everyday topics in 12 minutes or less. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I'm excited to have with us today Chris Heine. He owns a podcast production company in Southwest Florida and is launching the new SWFL Business Podcast, where he interviews business owners in the area and then uses that to generate high quality marketing content for their business. Chris, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me, Lorena. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting podcast. I guess it's like a cross podcast promotion, as they call it, right?
Yeah,
Um, so why don't we start first with how you got into the podcast industry and producing content for others?
sure. So it almost happened by accident. So I learned music production about a year and a half ago. I started learning how sound works, compression, EQ, all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to see if I could do that as a full-time career. The problem with that is that when you're not good at music production, it can be kind of hard to have a career in it. So I was still learning it, and somebody asked me, "Hey, can you produce a podcast for me?" I said, I think so. It's the same basic stuff. Yeah, let's go for it. And that's pretty much how I stumbled into it. And and then from there, I really ended up learning everything else, kind of trial by fire. I produced a podcast for somebody, did my own, and I've learned quite a bit. And the nice thing for my customers is that I've messed up most things on my own podcast, so that way I don't have to mess it up on theirs.
There you go. That's the best way to learn, right? By doing and messing up on your own stuff before being like, yeah, I can do this, and then it's like, yeah, no, you know.
Yep.
And yeah, definitely music production is one of those careers that it does take a lot of studying, I believe, right? And then getting a lot of business from it to be successful, I think, is a bit hard as well. Everybody seems to know how to produce music via like iTunes or whatever program they use on the computer. It's not iTunes, it's something else, right? Um,
Yep.
but anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about um, the new podcast that you're going to be? I believe it's already in production. I've seen a few episodes go live. SWFL, which Southwest Florida, right? And what that's all about.
Sure. Yeah, so really this one is I'm doing interviews with business owners in Southwest Florida, and the whole point is to give them a platform to share the story of their business and talk about things that can really help move their business forward. So the way that I structure this one is I actually custom tailor these interviews to each business owner. So before we set up the podcast, I reach out to them. I say, okay, I noticed that you guys have job openings. I noticed that you recently completed this large project. I noticed X, Y, Z. What are your goals as a company right now? Are you trying to grow? Are you trying to hire people? Are you trying to get into new markets? So whatever that may be, I we meet first. I talk them through that process, and then they come in, we shoot these video interviews, and then we put it out. So far it's been everything from tech to manufacturing, to safety equipment, a little bit all over the place, but diving into the story of their business, how they're growing it, and where they're going.
Awesome. And I think business owners need all the help they can get nowadays with marketing because I feel like they think it's just, oh, I'll take a video and post it out there and I'll be the next Gary Vee or something. Like it doesn't work like that, right? So, can you take us a little bit more behind the scenes of what you mean by creating content for them? I'm assuming you mean like social media, but is there more to it than that?
Yeah, so we do video interviews. So it's a video podcast and it's in person in the studio here in Bonita Springs. But everything is filmed. We have the pro audio recorded. And then from there, we actually give them the full edit of that video interview. And then we cut out clips for social media that can use for, Instagram Reels, LinkedIn, but also that content that it creates. Really, we're kind of teaching people how to use it in a different way as well. So if you're recruiting, send out that clip with the text to a new recruit to let them know, hey, here's what the culture is going to be like. Or in the sales process, hey, Mike, you've been telling me for 3 years you're having this problem. Our CEO just talked about it. Here's a minute long clip, send it via email. And so it's taking this content that they have and kind of making it professional, obviously, but teaching them how to use it in a way that achieves these business goals that we set up before the interview.
Yeah, I love that because I think video nowadays is so popular, right? With all the apps and everything, that if you can also do that for your own business, it makes you stand out. And it's not the same thing where like I shoot a video here with my phone than if somebody's interviewing me, right? That creates some type of authority. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that might be important for businesses looking to be on podcasts?
Sure. I think there is a value to somebody getting to join a conversation instead of just being talked to. I know I've been listening to podcasts for I mean probably closing in on 10 years now, but that's what I enjoy about it is I get to be kind of in the room with those people versus the only times I really like to be talked to in certain cases are when I'm directly seeking information. So, like, if I'm looking up a YouTube tutorial or I need to know specifically how to do something, then I don't mind it. Then I kind of ask for it. But I think casually passing, you're walking down the street and you heard somebody having an interesting conversation, well, just so you're not a weirdo, you might keep walking, but if you could and it wouldn't be weird, you might just like kind of stand there and listen. So that's what I think is an advantage with the interview style. You get to be a fly on the wall instead of somebody telling you, "Here's how it is."
Right. That's definitely a different way of explaining that. I haven't heard it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very unique. Um, and so Chris, can you tell us a little bit about you said that you have different industries in your podcast. Are you looking for any businesses in particular to interview next?
Not specific industries, but the primary businesses that we're starting to work with now are businesses that want to tell this story and do have these specific goals. Um, and either they view this as just another avenue or they've tried other things in the past and it really hasn't come out in an authentic way. So really it's not limited to the industry. It's just kind of what their goals are and if they view this podcast as a vehicle to help them achieve those goals, those are the businesses that we're trying to work with. I know that's a very vague answer, so sorry, but
It's okay. That's like when people ask me that, I'm like, I work with anybody. But of course, we have certain targets or, that we work with. But technically, yeah, same answer. Anybody,
yeah,
yeah. I think if you make it too rigid, you miss out on helping people that really might need it, right? Um, and
that's a
so
good
can you
point.
tell, yeah, and so can you tell us a story about maybe one of these businesses that you helped that have already been on your podcast and how they've seen success with being a guest?
Sure. Well, it's still early. We just launched it a week and a half ago, but so far the couple things that I'm seeing are the use for recruiting. So far, two of the six businesses that have been on talked about the different open positions that they have. And so now that we've put that out, they're getting feedback from people that they've heard that they have open positions, but also the clips that we created, a few of them we targeted for social media. So they've put those out, we've put them out on our social channels, and then they've gotten people that reached out based on that. So that's been pretty cool to see, um, the reach on our side is further than we thought.
Fantastic. And so, Chris, if somebody would like to be a guest, do you charge a fee to be a guest, or is it for the actual production afterwards?
So for now, we're pretty much just working with customers that want to buy the content. So in that way, yes, it's a paid podcast. Moving forward, once we get this rolling, we're probably not going to charge for it and then just give you the option to buy the content. But really, what it is we're filming these professionally produced interviews. We charge for that content. And so, yes, for now, you got to pay. In the future, probably not.
Like they say, gotta pay to play sometimes, right? But
Yeah.
it's not like you're paying to be on like some kids' YouTube, this is professionally edited, which I think is more important than maybe the interview itself, right? Because a lot of times people do like to see something professionally done, like especially if you're using it for recruiting, yes, maybe a video with your phone might work, but I think you're trying to recruit top talent as well. So all of that, all those little details, I think really do matter, right?
Yeah,
And
that's a great point, and if I could just elaborate on that, I mean, I think the level of quality kind of highlights who you are as a business. So if people do see something that is professionally produced, they are gonna associate that level of quality with your product or service.
exactly, like I was watching something on YouTube, I don't recall where, that they were saying, imagine if like Louis Vuitton had come out first with everything is 50% off, like you'd be like, okay, whatever. But since they from the beginning, they've always been like high end and exclusive, and I guess it kind of goes the same with any type of business, right?
Sure.
And so, Chris, how can somebody reach out if they would like to guest on your podcast?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Visit our website at southwestfloridapodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram, same thing, SWFL Podcast. Um, yeah, and reach out and we'll set up an intro call.
Awesome. And like always, I will have all of the links down below. So whether you're watching the video or the audio, you can easily get the information you need from our guest today. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you that don't know who I am. My name's Lorena Tomasini, and I'm the owner of Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency, where together with my mom, we help families and businesses with their financial protection needs, all done digitally. Chris, it's been great having you today on the 12-Minute Talks podcast. And I do have one final question for you. A lot of people I see in the podcast industry, they get like analysis paralysis with what microphone do I need? What headphone do I need? So I think this is really an advantage to doing it at a studio, right? Because you provide everything. It's done for you. I see I just hit my microphone. It's done for you. Right? You don't have to worry about all that. But let's say somebody that wants to do maybe like a solo podcast where they're not interviewing anybody. What would you say is good to start out, like maybe a good microphone, let's say?
There's a couple. I would say that you probably want to get a USB microphone and try to get a dynamic microphone if you can. This is one of them. This is the Shure MV7. This is a good one for that. There's also an Audio Technica one that's or maybe $80, something like that. But the nice thing about those is that you don't have to get a bunch of sound treatment when you put it through the apps that process it and you know upload it, send it out to Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. Um, they seem to work better with it, and it sounds more professional with less editing. So that's what I'd say. And you really don't have to break the bank to get started. The main thing is get started. If you really wanna do it, just do it, and then figure out the details from there.
Fantastic advice for anybody out there. Chris, thank you so much for being today on the podcast. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, thanks for having me, Lorena. I really appreciate it. This was cool.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast and hope you will listen to the next one. I'm Lorena Tomasini, and you can contact me via email life@malmins.com. Make it a great day.